today's topic is trust the process of life and allow ourselves the recognition that there is a power in the universe greater than we are, and we are using it every moment of our life, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. Dr. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of the Science of Mind movement, said, "Trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought." So when we direct energy consciously, the demonstration and the opportunity to step into that new estate is there for us. But if we, kind of operate randomly and, we're bounced along the seas of life, sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's not so good. But when we train our thought, when we acknowledge that where thought goes, energy flows, that there is something there for each and every one of us, because each and every one of us came in with a destiny to fulfill. So, we think, well, this isn't really the life I signed up for. I got news for you. You want to hear it? It is. This is the life we signed up for. And all the experiences that we draw in to our life, our circle of life, we have called in. So I always think it's so interesting that some of our greatest fears, what do? They show up. We get to look at them. Sometimes we get that weird feeling in our solar plexus. And then make the affirmation, because again, from the heart, we know that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are. We tap into that power. We acknowledge the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the holy I am presence that's going before us and preparing the way. We tap into the energy. It doesn't matter what we call it. But to know that which is within us is so strong that it can absolutely move through that which no longer serves us if we have the desire. And when we have the desire to release it, to let go, everything seems to break down. It's like the breakdown. It's interesting. One of my youth advisors, who's on Facebook, from my San Diego ministry 35 years ago, interestingly enough, she put on Facebook that she goes, "My whole life is falling apart." It's amazing what people put on Facebook, isn't it? "My whole life is falling apart." She said, "My fiance just broke it off. We were to be married in 2 weeks. He just broke it off. We just got this apartment. I put it in my name. I need to come up with all this money or I lose my deposit. Where I was working, I released that because it no longer served me. I wanted to do something else, and with the support of my fiance, I felt I could do that. And it just seems like everything has just dissolved. It's just before my very eyes. It's just gone, gone, gone." And so it was so amazing. She had over 200 hits on people who liked it and said, we know who you are. And this, you really have to realize, this is a gift. And of course, I wrote to her because I've known her for 35 years and I've known her to be a very strong and powerful young woman. She was in her maybe she was 19 when I first met her. And I said, what a magnificent gift this is. That someone who wasn't right for you, that you called in the energies to allow him to dissolve it, even though on some level you knew it wasn't going to work, that you created the space for the perfect home that you'd been wanting. And now you get to put the works with the faith, the action with intention, and create the position and the private counseling. And she's a life coach and she's a yoga teacher and she's a psychologist, she does many things. You can put it all together and recreate your life. And she wrote back and she goes, "I forgot that I was your youth advisor 35 years ago. And thank you. And everyone that was just so amazing." And she had in there that people felt that she should, because she was a spiritual teacher, that she should do it for free. And it was amazing, the posts that came in. One from Jeff Brown, who wrote a beautiful book on our soul pods. And he said, yeah, these geniuses don't realize that you get to pay the electric bill, your rent, the water bill. These geniuses, think that you can just, create it out of the ethers. And then other people, they wrote and just said, this is all going to work out. Every servant is worth their hire. This is all part of the divine plan. And I told her, you've called it in. It doesn't look like you've called it in at this moment. And, you really have to be tender and soft when people are going through things. Because people used to say in my day, well, what's in your consciousness that you created your fiance breaking up with you, losing your job, and can't afford to even move into your new home? What's in your consciousness? It was just another form of, I felt, fundamentalist judgment. And then it's interesting. Something happened in the New Thought movement, and people with heart started coming in. It's not just about the mind. We learned to make the longest journey on the planet, the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart, the longest journey on the planet. If we can't feel it, we can't heal it. And people with heart, ministers with heart, started coming in and realizing that compassion, the ground of being, is truly compassion. When someone is going through it, you don't kick them when they're down and say, what's in your consciousness? When my husband, Neil Stroud, made his transition, he passed on. It's so interesting. My daughter, 6 months before he passed on and moved to the next level, he's smiling on each of us. My daughter fell from a 50-foot cliff. She was 7. She broke her upper femur. And everyone said, and I could hear him whisper, what's in her consciousness? She started this new ministry. It was in Santa Clarita. Her husband's dying of cancer. Her child just fell from a 50-foot cliff. What's in her consciousness? Not putting their arm around me and saying, we're knowing the truth. And some did, I want you to know that. Saying, we're knowing the truth for you. This is a moment. We don't know how you're even coping. You're just amazing. There were those also. But there were others. And in that 6 months, my husband taught 5th grade. And to support his teaching hobby, he had his broker's license. Because I said to him one day, we're in a way of life that teaches prosperity principles. We're living like paupers. You're going to get your real estate license. I'm going to do interior design, and we're going to fix up houses and sell them. And that's exactly what we did. That's how we made our money. So it was really interesting. And that 6 months, Neil tutored Tricia because we lived in the forest, the Angeles National Forest. We bought a house from the star of the Big Valley. It was like an old transformed lodge. And he tutored her. And we had a tutor as well. And, the roads were pretty treacherous on one level. And so she said, I just don't think I can make these. My old car just can't make these roads. And he tutored her for 6 months before he passed away. So she had, by breaking the upper femur, it's the largest bone in the body, so she had a whole body cast to here, both legs, with the bar between so the leg would heal correctly. And he tutored her, and she had a relationship with her daddy that she never would have had that not occurred. So we cannot judge anything. The old wonderful adage about the old sage whose son was in, he was in the corral, and their 3 best horses got out. And all of the villagers said, oh, isn't that bad? Their 3 best horses got out. The next day, the 3 horses brought in an amazing amount of wild horses that were roaming the plains, and all they had to do was open the gate, and they all went in. And all the villagers said, isn't that good? The other 3 horses got out, and they brought back a whole corral filled with horses. And then the son was out breaking one of the horses, and so that he could ride it, and the horse threw him, and he broke his leg. And all the villagers said, isn't that bad? He was out trying to break one of the horses, it threw him, and he broke his leg. Isn't that bad? The next day, the high military representative of the emperor came to take every able-bodied young man to the wars. But his son could not enter the war that he didn't believe in, and was passed over. So we can say, isn't that good? Isn't that bad? But the truth is, it's just experience. We put good and bad on it when it's just experience. We have to trust the process of life. The minute we're saying, oh, isn't that bad? It all broke down and fell apart. But it fell apart so it could arise at a higher level. The breakdown for the breakthrough to see that there is a greater and more wonderful experience awaiting us. We never close a door behind us, but one doesn't open immediately in front of us into a still greater room with greater experience, greater aliveness, greater wisdom, because we have not judged the process. We have trusted in the process of life. To me, the basic ingredient is absolute gratitude and love, unconditional love of self, so it can flow out to others in the energy field. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am as sounding brass in a tinkling cymbal. I am empty, I am hollow. It is the energy that allows us to come forward in a way with depth and substance and the realization that we are in the world, but of a higher spiritual value. When I was speaking in Germany, I was staying with one of the Doctors Without Borders, Dr. Danny Schumad, who was originally born in Tehran, and he did not believe in that government, and so he moved to Hamburg, Germany, and went through med school and became one of the leading OBGYNs, and goes to Nigeria every year, and he stays for 3 months and delivers babies and takes care of women. He's just the most wonderful man on the planet, and we love him, don't we? He's just wonderful. And I stayed with he and his beautiful wife from Denmark. And then he and I went in on the train, and we went to Essen, Germany, where we were speaking on the Charity Peace Model by Dr. Emmanuel, Professor Ida. And it was so interesting. It was, we spent the weekend, and we had just this great time with all the speakers and all the people from all over the world. And I went to the reception desk, and I wanted to ask about how to get to the airport, and he looked at my airline ticket. It wasn't out of Essen. It was out of Hamburg. And I sort of vaguely, I was making so many trips. Well, I was on my global tour. I was leaving from Germany to go to Ireland. In Ireland, I was speaking in Cambridge University at Queen's College. So I didn't notice that it was from Hamburg, and so I walked over to the train station, and I said, I got to get to Hamburg because I'm flying out tomorrow. What do I do? And I felt kind of that scary feeling. And she said, well, you can catch the train in 2 hours to Hamburg. And then from Hamburg, you have to find a place to stay and then, get to the airport the following morning. So I have a dear friend. He's from Ireland. His name is Martin Burns. And he was having his 50th birthday that week. And so I had seen him prior. He'd come over to Dr. Danny Schumad's, and he'd spent a couple of days there, and we celebrated his 50th birthday. And I had his phone number with me. He lives in Hamburg, even though he's from Ireland. I mean, he's the kind of guy that he goes, Sharon, I'm going to turn 50. You got to come. You got to come to Hamburg, and then I'm going to go over to Ireland. And I wrote back and I said, oh, you're going into a new decade. So am I. I'm going to be 70. And he writes back and says, tell no one you are still hot. And that's the kind of guy he is. And so I thought, I'll call Martin. So I'm on the phone and I go, Martin, I got the whole thing screwed up. I thought I was leaving out of Essen. I'm leaving out of Hamburg. He goes, Sharon, I will be there at the train station to pick you up. And so I thought, isn't the universe, if you trust the process of life, even when you're kind of doing stuff that unconsciously you don't realize that you did, there is always the angel there with those wings of love to lift us through that experience. And what was so wonderful when I went there and we had tea and empathy, and I called, we called the cab to come pick me up the next morning. Martin's the kind of guy that has compassion on people, and so he has a beautiful roommate, a young woman who is engaged. And at 3 a.m, Martin comes into my room and he goes, Sharon, I have to leave. I have to go to the hospital. my darling little roommate, her fiance got in a fight with the cab driver. He's in emergency. We got to get there. And I said, oh, okay, I'll treat, love and light for, whatever's going on here. And so he got back about 6 in the morning and said, oh, he likes to drink, just like we Irish do, but he likes to drink even more. And so I had to come to Jesus, talk with him, and I said that he could move in because they were going to move out, let her move out. He can move in and he can study with me and have a heart-to-heart and get past all of this. And I was just laughing. I said that no matter where we go in the world, our services, the ministry is always there. It's available. We don't judge the process. We don't judge the person. We just open the space of love to allow love to do what love does best by means of each and every one of us that taps into it. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. It's hollow, it's empty, it doesn't mean anything. Everything responds to love. Everything responds to light. Everything responds to the warmth of the heart. I love that Juan Manuel Alonso has a little darling chihuahua, and he said that someone came up to him a while back, and they had really negative energy. And they started to say something about me and interfaith, and his little dog went, and he goes, oh, and he goes, my dog is allergic to negativity, and so am I. Have a nice day, and walked off. Don't we just love it that even, especially the animal kingdom, they sense negativity, and they also, there's a book out, Why Do Dogs Wag Their Tails? Because they love us unconditionally. And they respond to our love of them. They respond to, oh, you're just so cute. We just love you, love you. We always talk baby talk. We just love you, love you, love you. Oh, you're my baby. And it's really amazing. They respond. My little Sir Lancelot was passing away after Merlin, his brother, passed away last December. And I just talked to him, and then someone on Facebook said, feed him chicken and rice. I'm a vegetarian, but look, this is my baby. So I blessed the little chicken. I said, oh, thank you for sacrificing yourself for my little Sir Lancelot. And I hand-fed him, and he began eating again. And now, he's running to the treat bowl yesterday, barking, and I thought, oh, he's back to himself. I love this little being of light. And I know that we don't have forever together, but as long as we have, that's what we have. And so as we respond to the energy and trust the process of life, life is unfolding as it should. And as we're aware of that, as we open the space to allow life to flow through us, it does flow. But it's up to us to make the decision this day, whom and what we will serve. Let's serve our higher power. Let's serve love. Let's serve the light, and let's serve each other. Because what I know is out of that, we are going where? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is.